Let's try to get the dramatic lighting here, right? What's up, folks? My name is Steve Holmes. We're back. We're streaming live from the drum room. We're trying something different, actually. I'm trying this restream. We're trying restream here to stream to multiple platforms. We'll see how that works. I'm still just streaming to YouTube like I normally do. But I just wanted to give this a try. So if you're new here, this is a thing we do once in a while where we play drums, we talk about drums, and that's it. It's all about drumming here. It's kind of our therapy, actually. After a couple weeks of life, this is our therapy. This is how we get it out of our system. We play drums, we talk about drums, we have fun. It's a good, healthy thing. And it's fun. It's fun to, talk about drumming and play drums. So welcome. My name is Steve Holmes. We're going to start with some drumming. So let me know how it sounds in the chat if there's any issues, audio or video-wise. And of course, any questions, any suggested topics, and we'll get there, okay? We're going to get there. Oh, some folks are here already. What is up, folks? Let's see, we have Robert Thompson. What's up, Robert? And Drum Detect. What's up? Oh, Lavish D. Lavish. Your name is just like memorable, and so I'm always like, oh, you've been here before, but it's possible that other people have been here. Like Drum Detect, I'm pretty sure you've been here before. Oh man, look at all this. I'm kind of digging the Restream chat display so far. This is my first time using it. Everyone says it sounds good. All right, well, welcome. I'm going to try to keep the boring improv not too long, and we'll just get to the chatting. But if you guys have like topics or questions, let me know, and we'll dig into that, because I feel like that's where the good stuff really is, for the most part. All right, so let's do some drumming. All right, I cut myself off because I'm like really repeating myself and I'm really rusty and man, still trying to get warmed up. Still trying to get warmed up, you guys. How's it going? My name's Steve Holmes. Welcome to the drum room stream, folks. Cheers. Let's see, Drum Tech is asking about traditional grip. Any of you guys switch over to traditional from a life of matched? Well, man, I played a lot of match grip when I was younger, but then I had the benefit of like, I don't know, I got started kind of early with traditional grip, but just from like marching and stuff, and then like traditional jazz, basic jazz independence. I did traditional grip and marching band traditional grip, but then at home I was playing all match grip, like rock and roll stuff. And eventually I had to like pick a lane, and so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to play all my match grip stuff like with traditional grip, and that was a little bit of a challenge, but eventually it worked out. But I don't think that one is necessarily better than the other. I mean, they each have their strengths and weaknesses, you know. And it's funny, actually, I've seen a fair bit of videos lately talking about how one is better than the other. And I try to come from a place when debating any topic, really. I'm kind of, I like to look at the strengths and weaknesses of both. And, you know, depending upon what the needs are, then you make the decision based on the strengths and weaknesses, you know? A lot of people kind of get sucked into, this is better than that, and I say so, and, you know, okay. You know, we get it. But I prefer to come from a more, you know, more centrist approach, if you will, more, I don't know, I think it's just more constructive to like, you know, to look at the strengths and weaknesses of both. But I mean, that's not to say like, oh, you can do anything with any approach, you know. I mean, there's so many drummers now to where you can see the benefits of each, you know. Like, I think guys like Gary Novak and Dennis Chambers and Dave DiCenzo, kind of like, you know, and Moritz Mueller, you know, those guys are like, they can play anything with match grip. So that kind of settles it. Jay Scott Drummer, I've mentioned him before. He's a guy on Instagram that's just an amazing, beautiful player. So check him out if you haven't on Instagram. Jay Scott Drummer, his name is. But yeah, just, I mean, it's not so much about the grip. I mean, the thing is, like, in order to get to a level that I mean, the level that I kind of want to be at, like, it takes a lot of practice, you know. And so if playing match grip, you know, means that you know, you're kind of already a place where you're comfortable and you don't have to like regress and start over, then maybe that's the better choice. I know a guy who, you know, kind of had to switch to traditional grip due to, you know, some medical issues, and so he's focusing on that. And I mean, it's totally possible, you know. But I would suggest picking a lane, like pick one and focus on it, you know. And if you're into one grip over the other, like just study the masters of that grip. You know, I spent a lot of time, obviously, like analyzing, like, you know, Weckel's traditional grip and Vinny, and Steve Smith too, early Steve Smith. Those guys are like, you know, traditional grip masters. And so pick a lane. The one thing that I do kind of like, you know, that one thing that I've noticed that not a lot of people talk about this actually is like, you know, one of the big differences, and again, this is not better or worse thing, but like, if you play traditional grip and you relax your hand, the stick is sitting in your hand, right? Like I'm not really holding it right now. Like I'm holding it, but my hand is kind of open, and I've let go of the stick, like for all intents and purposes. And if I were to play match grip and I let go of the stick, then it's going to fall out, you know. And so I kind of like that with traditional grip. With a relaxed position, the stick is kind of sitting in your hand, as opposed to like sitting in your hand like this, which if I relax my hand match grip, it's still sitting in my hand, but I can't, like, I have to make sure my fingers are closed enough to where I still have to worry about not dropping the stick, you know, whereas with traditional grip, I don't have to worry about that as much. And so when you're playing like light, finessey, you know, stuff, I find that helps, you know, because the stick is like sitting in the hand, and you can still use all the strengths, all the muscles to kind of like do your thing while the stick sits there, you know. And I've also heard people, you know, Thomas Lang released a video talking about, you know, match grip versus traditional grip, and he's certainly mastered both, and so he is an authority. But he talks about like, oh, if match grip is so great, then why don't, you know, if I recall correctly, I could be misquoting the video, but I think he said something to the effect, well, you know, then play both hands traditional grip. And if it wasn't him that said it, it was someone else that said it. And the thing is, like on the drum set, obviously, like each hand has a different responsibility. You know, it's like a, you know, a bow and arrow. It's like, oh, well, why don't I use the same technique with my right hand versus my, well, no, because both hands have a very different responsibility, and it doesn't work unless both hands are doing the thing, you know. And that's not to say that you know, I mean, so I'm sure someone could actually, you know, like play both hands traditional, but obviously that's going to cause problems in terms of hitting cymbals and stuff. But you know, that's the point, is kind of the asymmetric nature of this in terms of like hi-hat and ride cymbal and kick and snare, and the difference between ooh and ah and boom and dat, you know. And I find that the responsibilities of the left hand, backbeats and ghost notes, I find that traditional grip works really well with that. Yeah, Peter is saying it was Matt Garstka that said that, you know, play both hands traditional grip. And Matt is he's one of the greats. Matt is an amazing drummer. He's just ridiculous. But I mean, again, like, I prefer to take, you know, a perspective that's not so limiting or excludes. It doesn't exclude anything necessarily. You know, strengths and weaknesses. You know, what works for someone else may not work for another person. You know, but be honest. You know, I want to be honest about the strengths and weaknesses. You know, and like I said, there's a lot of match grip guys that are my favorite guys, especially these days. I mean, Dave DeCenzo and Jay Scott Drummer. And Moritz Mueller, and like those are the guys that I find myself really enjoying the most these days, and they're all match grip guys, man. So obviously the responsibilities of each hand is possible with match grip on both, but I just find that, you know, for a lot of little notes, which the left hand is going to do more than the right hand in the kind of style drumming that I play, you know, like most of the ghosting is going to happen on the left hand, and I think traditional grip is great for that kind of thing, for reasons that I mentioned before. But it's up to you. Plus, you know what? There's another thing that people don't talk about. How it looks. No one ever talks about how things look on the drum set. How someone looks when they play, how a thing looks when a guy does it. Like, you're an entertainer. You're on stage. You're on a video. Like, how something looks totally matters. No one talks about that. You know, there's some drummers that I like to listen to, but as soon as I see them play, I get like turned off. I don't want to watch them. You know, I like listening to them. I like what they're saying musically, but like visually, doesn't do anything for me. And like it or not, like, you put yourself out there, you are subjecting yourself to visual scrutiny. Period. The end. You know. And so, having said that, like when I was younger, I just thought, you know, traditional grip looked super cool. You know, I saw guys that were good at traditional grip, and I liked how the hand looked. I liked how, you know, that kind of demeanor looked. I just think there's something cool about it. Like, there is something cool about it. You know, if you guys haven't seen, like, me and a friend of mine, we made like a little short movie about traditional grip. Like, if you just look up like traditional grip the movie or whatever, Steve Holmes traditional grip, you'll probably find it. But it's an old little comedy thing that my friend and I did, where we're like sitting around just hanging out, and like there's a knock on the door, and traditional grip is actually at the door, and he comes inside and we hang out with him, and he's like super cool. And then later on at the end, like there's a knock at the door, and we're all excited because we think it's traditional grip, and it's really match grip at the door, and he's kind of dorky, and we're like, we don't want to hang out with you, match grip. It was pretty funny. This is like early 2000s, but it's funny because you can get like a little peek at like the what I call the bachelor years, you know, like my apartment and the big CRT TV, and we're hanging out watching old Vinny bootlegs. So that's worth checking out if you're interested in drummer humor, of which there's not a whole lot. And I don't count Fred, what's his name, because I don't think he's funny, actually. All right, so match grip and traditional grip. Stuart Copeland, man, like watching that guy play, I just thought that was the coolest, you know. So yeah, there you go. Traditional grip versus match grip. We talked about it. Let's see. What else we got? Lavish D. Yep, always support. Okay, if anyone's interested in supporting the YouTube channel, we're trying to get some funds together to upgrade actually a laptop, maybe a camera switcher, and I have to get a new recording unit too, actually. If I get a new laptop, I have to get a recording unit, which sucks because this recording unit won't record the new laptop, apparently. Anyway, you can click the super, it's called. It's like this little smiley face or the little $, and you can financially support the channel that way. That would be great. Really appreciate it. That's like my little digital tin can on the corner of the internet here. So any help, any support is appreciated. Let's see. Newell Canfield says hi, hello. Hello, Lewis. Let's see. Drum Detect talked about traditional grip. We talked about that. Hello from Germany. Always love your drumming. How you get your ideas. Man, we could talk about that like all day. But just to say, like, just listen to tons of music all the time, watch tons of drummers all the time, and, you know, take what you like, change it up, or don't change it. Learn it, like, note for note, and then, like, you know, then change it up. But just, like, tons and tons of listening. And, you know, your internal drummer, because it all has to happen here, I say, you know, it has to happen here and here before it can happen here. This is the final step, which I find is interesting. This is something else that no one talks about. This is the final step. Like when the stick hits the thing, that's the final step of a pretty long process when you think about it. A process that began like when you decided to start playing drums, you know, and when you listen to music and what happens inside of you when you listen to music and it reaches you. Not even drumming, just a song that you're like, oh yeah, you know, or a song that you love how it grooves or emotionally stimulates you or whatever. It comes in, it goes through this process. It's different for everyone, which I think is amazing. And then it comes out, you know. That's how I get ideas. And one day I'm going to do a video on that. I think I'm going to do like a proper YouTube video. I'm going to talk about, you know, my particular journey and the music that reached me and how I process that and how that comes out, you know. That kind of thing. And so that's how I get ideas. But just suffice to say that the drumming never stops in my head. Like I'm drumming right now in my head. It's kind of crazy. And it's something that I've had to kind of deal with and get used to, you know, through my whole life. And obviously I've kind of made peace with it and it's helped tremendously. It's like mental practicing is a thing. And so because of this nonstop drumming, it's kind of, you know, it kind of, you know, it's like I'm mentally practicing whether I want to or not in terms of generating ideas and that kind of thing. So just listen to tons of music, you know, it's all out there now, you know, so go out and get some. Let's see, any interesting cowbell ideas? Lavish D is a regular here. Lavish, you know, it's funny, I have the cowbell on here because I like force myself to play it because I don't think I sound good when I play the cowbell because the cowbell it's such a staccato voice. It's such a short voice. And so when you play it, it's kind of like it has to be really placed well or it, in my opinion, it kind of sounds like out of place if you don't do it well. And it's funny because, you know, to fill in the notes between the cowbell stuff, I've been actually putting what would normally be ghost notes, I would actually put them on the hi-hat, which I think kind of sounds cool, you know? So instead of, like if you have a groove with a hi-hat and a snare drum and you're like, just a basic groove, step boot, that, right? That's what I'm thinking. If you take that groove and you put it on the cowbell, like it sounds like this. You know, and that is what it is. It's like a cowbell groove, right? I still have the talkie mic on, and so like the drums are going to sound like this is the raw drum sound you're getting now, right? And so what I kind of like to do is take those ghost notes and put them on the hi-hat. You know, so instead of gi-da-da-oo, it's gits-spoo, right? This is an, you know, someone was asking about ideas, you know, the drumming process, like with the mental drumming, like constantly singing it, you know, da-ga-da-doo, shagga-ba-da, jagga-da-doo, shabba-ba-da, four, right? That's the groove we're talking about. So like put it on the hi-hat with the left hand. You know, and so the accents they're louder, obviously, because they're on the hi-hat now, and so you need to like play them a little louder to get that effect, because soft ghost notes on the snare drum, you know, it's completely different intention than like, you know, left-hand notes on the hi-hat, you know, because you don't want to play it soft because you're losing out on the coolness of what that is, you know, left hand on the hi-hat, I mean, like, because you don't want it to be quiet, like, you know, you want it to be like, I'm actually accenting that second one. You know, so let me turn off my talkie mic and kind of mess around with that, and make a fool out of myself. Because again, like I don't sound good doing this stuff, but this is like stuff I've been messing with. It's funny because my tendency is to like fill everything in. And when you're playing by yourself, like I am now, I think that works. But like if you're playing music with someone, you know, and it's time to like play a groove on the cowbell, then it's like I have to tell myself like, okay, there's no need to fill everything in. You know, just play the cowbell and just let the space happen between the cowbell notes, because there's music going on. And so if the cowbell works in the context of that music, then it's okay to just let you know, leave the space, you know, let the space happen so that the, you know, the whole thing happens, you know. So you can kind of do that. Flamming, I mean, more cowbell ideas like flamming on the cowbell. I like for like a, you know, like a Latin wannabe, you know, like a Latin wannabe thing, like tom and cowbell together, you know, whatever, you know. Yeah, see, I told you I suck with this stuff. That's all like pseudo, you know, fusiony, Latin-y grooves, you know. But, you know, I like, you know, like the flam stuff on the cowbell, you know, opening the flam up. So it's a left-handed flam, which means the left hand comes down second, right? So badat or gdat, like, you know, so if you're like blast, blast, boom. You know, I think that's kind of cool. You know, that kind of stuff, you know, it's just this basic stuff. I'm like I said, like I have it on here to force myself to try to make it work, you know, because obviously it doesn't work very well when I do it, you know. I'm trying to think of there was a thing that I did, like a play along tune, and there was one section in the tune where I was like, okay, the cowbell will work well here. Oh, it was like a 680 thing. Like one of the few, like I don't do a lot of like play along YouTube videos, but in my channel, there's a playlist called like Steve Holmes Performances. Anyone that hasn't, checked out my YouTube channel, I recommend doing that if you're interested in drum lessons or performances. So subscribe to that channel and click that bell and all the cheesy things that people say. But there was a Drumeo 6/8 play along thing. It was called, like literally that was what it was called. And Jared from Drumeo did a play along thing, and I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a cool tune. And so I did a play along video for it, and there was a section on there where I was like, okay, the cowbell will work here, and it was just the typical friggin', probably the worst thing you can do with the cowbell, which is ding ding ga ding 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 ga ding ding. It's like the groove that used to be very common, not so much these days. Yeah, I think that's all I got, man, for cowbell. But having said that, I think it's important to learn like the important cowbell grooves, like from rock and roll, like over the decades, geez, We're Not Gonna Take It, Twisted Sister, that's a big cowbell groove. Oh man, Honky Tonk Woman, come on. I mean, that's probably overdubbed or whatever, someone else is playing it, but man, Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Woman, I really like how Dennis uses the cowbell too, for the most part. But obviously Weck is the cowbell like master, because he took like the Gad stuff and took it like to the next level. But having said that, now that I think about it, I'll tell you what, my favorite cowbell stuff of all time, favorite cowbell stuff, Steve Gadd's Zildjian Day. Like the original Zildjian Day. It was like, I don't know, 82, 83. With Billy Cobham, Alex Acuna, Steve Gadd, Vinny Colaiuta, right? And I'm not even like, I mean, Vinny's performance on there is cool, but it's not. I mean, Steve Gadd's performance on there is like, that's Gadd for me. There's so much Gadd stuff out there. That's the thing that really reaches me is his performance on there. And he's like clean shaven. He doesn't even have like the signature beard and goatee. But yeah, man, and his cowbell's like all old and taped up. It's like some old guitar that like a guy's been playing for decades, So yes, I appreciate the cowbell. I love the cowbell, but I'm still trying to not suck at it. How's that? Lavish D. It's even trying to double everything. Let's see, this is Robert Thompson at 12:23. Sorry, we're going backwards here with the comments. Robert Thompson said, I've been trying to double everything that isn't an accent as 16th notes, and I pick random cadence, Ted Reed style. Okay, the accents change lead hands, ? Could you please explain how you make that work? Sure, I can touch on that for a moment. But, I mean, just to say it, there's a 3-part, like 3-video lesson called like the secret to clean double stroke rolls or something on my channel, and I talk about this. There's a whole video talking about like accenting over triplets, whole video talking about accenting over 16th notes. Play the accent, double everything else, right? That's the idea, but it takes a while to kind of get, and Robert's talking about doing it over 16th notes, right? And so, I mean, the thing is, like, before the doubles even come in to play, like, you have to get comfortable with accenting like from hand to hand and not like, not stumbling on that. Like, the thing with the Ted Reed stuff is a lot of that stuff is just, if you play it over 16ths, most of it's going to end up on the right hand, like ba 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 ba. Yeah, it's all going to end up on the right hand if you do it with 16th notes, right? So pick a phrase like with 16th notes, like ba ba da ba ba da ba 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 da ba ba da ba, right? We take that phrase, and step one is like, okay, figure out what hand is doing what accent, right? So I tell myself, okay, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right. Like in terms of the accents, those are the accents, right? And you just play it over 16th notes, right? And again, like I always say, like if you can't even get that far, like if you're struggling with something, chop it up. Cut it in half. If you still can't do it, cut it in half again. We're talking about playing 16 notes in 4/4 time. So if you can't do this stuff, like take it 1 quarter note at a time, literally. There's 4 16 notes per quarter note. What is the count of 1? It's baga-jaga, right? It's actually baga-japa, right? Accenting the of 1, right? That's actually good to do when you're working on this stuff is figuring out like what counts the accents fall on, right? So get that happening, like use that as a fill, like in a groove, you know, like. You know, get used to that, then put it on different surfaces. You know, we haven't even introduced the doubles yet, you know. You know, notice when I put, you know, the accent on the cymbals, I'm putting a bass drum underneath of it, right? That's on purpose. But, you know, you don't have to do that. You know, it's something else you want to pay attention to. It's like, is when you hit a cymbal, like, it's a completely different sound to have the bish or the, you know, like empty cymbal, no bass drum underneath of it, you know, like, you know, versus completely different voice, you know. So you want to control that stuff. You don't want it to happen by accident, right? So ba, shba, da, shba, shba, da, shba, right? And so adding doubles, kind of slowing it down. Sorry, I'm like clicking sticks and stuff. But so I'm playing same accents, I'm doubling everything else. And you can hear some elasticity there, right? Like I acknowledge that. You can hear some elasticity in the doubles in terms of, whoa, what subdivision are you playing? Are you playing 16-note triplets? Are you playing 32nd notes? You know, and you know that kind of depends on. I mean, it's up to you, obviously. You know, if you wanted to, you know, if you wanted to kind of stretch it out and sound triplet, or if you want it to be like, kind of like strict 32nd notes, like. You know, that would be like 16ths and 32nd notes, right? As opposed to like triplety thing, we kind of open it up. You know, that kind of thing. And I'm varying the sticking at the very end. Like sometimes on a count of 4, I do like a 6-stroke roll, and other times I just play all doubles all the way through. Right? These are things you want to pay attention to and get control over, right? But that's the process. Like pick a phrase, get familiar with what hand the accents are on, and put the accents all over the place, and then just, you know, put doubles in between and write this stuff out. It's not, you know, you don't have to write, you know, a whole lot. You write like one bar, write out, you know, 4 groups of 4 16th notes, you know, and then put the accents where they go, you know, take it 1 quarter note at a time. And so you already know which ones are left. You just put like, I put a little slash through it. And actually, if you go to that video that I mentioned on my channel, there's a PDF link in the description for free. Like just, you know, get the PDF, and you'll see where the accents are in relation to the quarter note, which is super important. I'm all about that. And you'll see like what notes are doubled and which notes are, you know. And the goal, you know, the goal is this. Man, that stuff is so fun, you guys. It's all like, it's just fun to have the ability to to improvise with accents anywhere on the kit and double everything else, you know? And despite the amount of notes there, I'm not thinking about all the little notes. I'm just kind of hitting a button and they just kind of happen as the result of years of practice. What I'm thinking is like, bam, I'm thinking of like 3, 4, bam, 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 da, bam, bam, dom, bam, bam, be da, be da, be da, be, be, ba, gachi, di, you know? That's what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking very, and it's funny because when you think about the phrases of the accents, they're very simple. Like these phrases are so simple, like but, like, come on. You know, it's simple stuff, but it sounds like this kind of cool flowy thing. And depending upon the tempo, you know, it sounds totally different. Like you saw me like kind of opening it up, because if you play, you know, 4/16 notes, you accent 1, you've got 3 notes left. So if you double those 3, that's a total of 7 notes, right? So if they all take up the same amount of space, it's a septuplet. Right? But if you play them strictly as 30-second notes, then it's a 16 note followed by 6 30-second notes. You know, so it's important to keep track of that stuff. And the reason why is because that information dictates where those notes are in relation to the quarter note, and it's all about that. Like, it's all about the quarter note and knowing where the notes are. Like, is it right before the quarter note? Is it right after the quarter note? It's a 30-second after. Like, that stuff's important, you guys. If you want to speak this language, if you want to, because the more you understand that, the more like knobs you have on your board, more, you know, to play with, you know, the more options you have at different tempos, you know. I mean, I just like I'm not a lot of my playing is based on that, and it just, you know, you can really milk that for a lot of different stuff. So I hope that helps, Robert Thompson. That was talking about doubles over 16 notes. Let's see, Drum Verdict at 1225 said, love your playing, man. You're an inspiration. Sergio from Texas. You make me want to practice more. Sergio, practice more, brother. Do it. Go have fun. Thank you for the compliment. Michael Bambrick with the $10 Canadian donation. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. Lemon character jumping in excitement with his heart beating out of his chest. Okay, I guess that was like an emoticon that didn't work, and so it typed out the description of it. Okay, let's talk about independence. I find it so frustrating. Let me just check that. Okay, yeah, we're still good with audio levels. We can talk about independence. Let me fast forward a little bit here. We're going to stand up and try to get my head in front of this light. It's so like, stretching my legs here. Okay, someone's asking about independence. Someone mentioned Gergo Borlai. Agreed. Lavishly with the $5 donation. Time to retire the right stick. You first. Oh man. Let's see. Robert Thompson with a $1.99 donation. Thank you so much. Traditional grip. Thanks for the explanation. Sorry, I lost power here. Catching up. Okay. Sounds hilarious. Yeah, watching Joe Morella, Starlicks back in the Bachelor years. Yeah, I didn't get into Joe too much, but obviously he's significant with his Dave Brubeck stuff. Drums Verdict also with that emoticon. Drums Verdict with the $5 donation. Thank you so much, you guys, for supporting the channel. Really appreciate it. Drums Verdict says, shed some light, VHS, I still have it. Oh man, you guys, I put out a drum video like in the early 2000s, late 90s, called Shed Some Light. You can still get it on Amazon, actually. You can buy the DVD. I think you can rent the DVD on Netflix. Does Netflix still do like mail order DVDs? They used to. You used to be able to rent the DVD. It's called Shed Some Light. It's really old. It's actually published by Hal Leonard. So check that out. Post a picture of you holding the DVD and tag me on Instagram or Twitter. Let's see, someone talked about independence. That's a pretty meaty topic. Could you tell me independence? I find it so frustrating, says Michael Bambrick. Man, independence, like, I don't know, in what context? You know, like the independence that I you know, attacked for a long time, obviously, is like the jazz independence. Playing different phrases with the limbs against the swing pattern. That was the independence that really broke me up and was just amazingly amazingly valuable. I don't know if that's the independence that you're talking about. Let's see, I just listened to Nefertiti in its entirety for the first time. I wonder how that looks on a grid. Well, if you get the subdivision tight enough, it'll go on there. But man, that's not really one for. This is Robert Thompson at 12:36 Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, Nefertiti is just, oh man, Tony on there. Oh, and I love those tunes. I love Fall. Fall's a great tune. And I love, the title track and then Fall. They kind of like, no one really takes a solo on there. They just kind of loop. And every time they're like, okay, what's going to happen now? What's going to happen now? And each time it's different, and it ends up in this really crazy place. It's just so beautiful, that those tunes. Let's see. Always sounds good playing the cowbell. Yeah, Gad is amazing with the cowbell. Are you planning on doing a video focused on samba rhythms? Asks Hala at 12:38. Well, the answer is no. I'm not planning on doing a video focused on samba rhythms because I'm not good enough on them to put myself out as an authority or an example. My samba playing is just very like, this is what's in the book. I would recommend checking out other guys like, authentic sambas are a unique and beautiful thing, and I would recommend checking out other guys that are better at that stuff. But I appreciate the question. Let's see, there's 50 NOK. I'm not sure the denomination of that dollar amount. Hey, great playing as always, says Sandri. Could you take a look at the groove that happens a few seconds in live performance and explain what is going on? Which performance? The one I did earlier? Man, I wish I could see that, because someone makes a donation. I want to address their question. The groove that I started with for a few seconds in live performance. Could you take a look at a groove that happens in a few seconds in live performance? Yeah, I'm not sure what performance you're talking about. I mean, I remember what I started with. It was kind of like a spacious kind of thing. There wasn't really a lot of groove going on. Sandra, if you have a link or something, put that in here or email it to me and I'll try to follow up with you. But I appreciate the donation. Good tip 50. That sounds great. Sounds good to me. That was cool, says Lavish. Hopefully talking about my cowbell hi-hat thing probably. Will you have your own online school soon? No. This is my online school. My YouTube channel, like literally my YouTube channel, and I'm going to expand my streaming thing. I'm going to start like streaming on Facebook and maybe Reddit. We'll see. But yeah, this is it. Like my YouTube channel and my streams. This is my drum school. But I'm not planning on charging money or anything for now. I just got too much going on with like other things in life for this. I don't want the drumming to be a thing I have to like worry about or stay on top of in terms of, this is my enjoyment thing, and so I want to keep it like that. I don't want it to be something that I have to like stay on top of necessarily in terms of the online presence, Jeff Picaro, let's see. Yeah, cool cowbell though. We need to make a cowbell into the cool bell. Yeah, actually that's a good name for like a name brand. Someone should do that. It's like put out a signature series cowbell with LP percussion or someone and call it the cool bell. Man, why haven't they done that yet? Oh yes, Don't Fear the Reaper is a good, of course. Why didn't I say that? Because of the Saturday Night Live thing. Gotta have more cowbell. Please play some songs. Michael, I appreciate that. I agree. The thing is with my setup here, with Logic, there's a bit of a delay and I haven't, that's part of the reason why I want to upgrade actually, is there's a bit of latency like with the monitoring in the cans. And so I don't have it set up to where I can play along to a track in real time over the stream yet. But that is the goal. And I agree that we should be able to play along some music. Maybe at the end of this, I'll like try to turn on the click or something and see if we can get that in the mix. Thoughts on playing 100%? Oh, let's see. Rolls are beautiful. Should gain a subscriber, says Paul Lawson. Thank you, Paul. Your sound effects are amazing. Okay. Nifo from South Africa. Beautiful. Paul from Virginia. I love drummers speak when they scat out their playing. Man, it's all about singing your stuff. It's all about singing your stuff. I'm going to sit down again because I'm afraid like this light is being annoying. Welcome to the stream, folks. If you haven't, if you're just joining, my name's Steve Holmes. We're talking about drumming here. We're drumming. We're answering questions about drumming. And that's it. We did some improv up front, and now we're going through the chat. Let's see. Thoughts on playing 100% intentional versus stream of consciousness or a mix, and trusting yourself when you let go. Well, you kind of have to trust yourself when you let go, right? What's the alternative? You know? I mean, I guess the alternative is not trusting yourself, but that doesn't sound like a good way to be. You have to have you have to have some confidence in your ability to play. If you're just going to sit and play, you know, for people. But after a while, after you drum long enough, if you do anything long enough with success, then you just, you know, it's like walking or running or jogging or driving. You know, it's like, well, yeah, I can drive with other people in the car because I know that I can, you know. You just have to do it and have enough wins and enough success to establish that, you know. 100% intentional versus stream of consciousness. This is Pablo Swanson. I mean, I guess those are just different ways of saying like improvisation, you know, and that kind of stuff is subjective, although I think that kind of, you know, that kind of delves into, you know, just kind of repeating yourself and like being on automatic pilot. That's a thing that can be good, but also bad. And that's something that I do a lot. I mean, I just kind of turn it on and the automatic pilot stuff just happens. And that's probably not good a lot of the time. You know, if you want to kind of renew and stay fresh, and, you know, the automatic pilot is the enemy of that. And so that's something I try to take into consideration. Triplet grooves and fills, please. Good question, Pablo Swanson. Okay, yeah. Well, I feel good having addressed that now, actually. Someone's asking for triplet charity from Italy. Says Umberto Raucci. You're an amazing player. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Are you familiar with the Latin style sango beat? I am, but I kind of butcher it, actually. Steve, you're a beast, bud. Love your playing, says Sean Horton. Sean or Sean? I'm not sure. Thank you very much. I've seen teachers that teach speaking what you play while you play. I find that difficult. Yeah, I guess I could do that. I kind of feel like me playing it is saying it, you know. Let's see, someone talked about triplets. Someone else talked about independence. I mean, for those of you that haven't, we can talk about jazz independence, or I mean, actually not, you know, non-jazz independence. I mean, I've made it a point to try to be able to improvise with you know, left hand, you know, and left foot, right foot, like underneath of a quarter note, you know, which sounds easy enough. Michael is asking about the the sango on the ride bell. We can combine them. We can play a quarter note and improvise underneath of it, and play a sango. But you know what we were talking about before about like being familiar with the subdivisions and knowing like where notes are in relation to the quarter note. Like, you know, you see me do this a lot. Like while I'm improvising, you know, improvising with grooves with these three limbs while keeping like the quarter note going. Like I would not be able to do that if I didn't, you know, have a good understanding of where the notes are in relation to the quarter note. You know, Stephen Brown says that Sean Horton is a great player. Oh man, some guys are here, heavy hitters. So you know, let's do a little bit of that. You know, but it's difficult to try to keep the quarter note, you know, going without stopping. You know, once you start getting like busy. That stuff is fun, because that stuff's all on the grid. Like I tried to get it on the grid, like for the I did a little songo there. So Michael's like, yes, thank you so much. My songo is horrible, by the way, you guys. All that stuff is, the intention is that it's on the grid, and so I like having that reference always there. It's like this this math metal stuff that a lot of, we talked about Matt Garska earlier, that Animals as Leaders, he's just constantly bashing on the ride cymbal during a lot of those very complex grooves and passages, which I think is really cool, and I try to do the same thing a lot of times. I ended up kind of almost, getting sucked into this thing where I should be playing a groove, and really I'm just playing all kinds of crap against the quarter note. But like, I stopped playing the quarter note a couple times so that you could hear the phrase without the reference. And I get lost. You take this away, and a lot of this stuff doesn't sound like it's in time. And that was something that I noticed when I made the transition from like listening to rock and listening to jazz. That was a huge part of that. The rock stuff is all like, it's on the grid in terms of like, the phrasing is like, it's easy to feel because it's all like quarter note. It's all like, I want to say it's simple. I guess that's the right. It's all like, 8th notes and 16th notes, and obviously triplet stuff too with shuffles. But point being is like, the music, it sticks to the time. It spells out the time. It doesn't deviate from the pulse. Of course it doesn't, because it's pop music, or rock music and whatever. But even like, complex rock, I guess it depends on what we're talking about, but we're deviating from the topic. The point is, like, when I started listening to jazz and guys are like trading 4s, for example, or trading 8s, I was like, is this stuff even in time? I didn't think it was in time because I'd never heard phrasing like that, because I was so used to the of rock and roll, or pop music or whatever. You grow up on that stuff, you get used to that stuff, and you think that that's the beginning and the end. You think that's the limitation, when really the ceiling is much, 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 much higher. And that was part of the allure for me. Literally open up all new worlds. Because I was all about like Neil Peart and Alex Van Halen and Alan White and 80s Men at Work and stuff when I was young. We're talking about mid 80s. That's the stuff I grew up on. A lot of guys my generation did. But then like, Weckl hit the scene, and then, a bunch of people got me, back to basics. His instructional video on VHS at a surprise birthday party, actually. I remember turning it on and being like, whoa. First of all, I'm like, well, this guy's hitting the crash cymbal without a bass drum, and that's wrong. Because that's what I was taught, from rock and roll and stuff, And that just opened the doors for me, and buying all the, all those CDs that he was on back then. The early Michel Camilo stuff. Actually, Michel Camilo, the piano player, his self-titled record, it's just called Michel Camilo. It has like a black and white picture of him on the front. And there's this tune on there called, Sweet Sandrine Part 1. And it's like this kind of pseudo samba, thing. It's like that. Like check out the tune and check out the drumming on there. But then there's like trading. With all these breaks, and Weckl takes like, the phrasing on there just blew. I was like, what? What is this even in time? Of course it is. It's just that, I was just bred on phrasing that was, more spoon-fed, I guess, if you will. It spelled out the time more, whereas jazz phrasing doesn't really spell out the time. You have to feel the time. And that takes a long time. And I remember moving to LA, and for years and years going to every show that I could, and listening and practicing on my own over the years, and getting to the point where you could just feel everything. It's like guys are trading, and you listen, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you follow along, and boom, you know where the time is. You don't get lost because you can feel the phrasing. And in order to feel the phrasing, you got to get familiar with all the subdivisions, and that's why, like, if you play, triplets, 8th note triplets, and you start putting them in groups of 2, right away, for people that are not used to hearing that, you're gonna get lost. If you're not used to that, triplets, 1 ta ta, 2 ta ta, chaka ta, chaka ta. If I stop the hi-hat, your brain's going to latch onto those accents as the new pulse, which is 3/4 actually. You're going to think the pulse is like chaka-doo-goo, chaka-doo-goo. It's not. It's chaka-doo-goo, 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 cha. Because what I'm doing right now, that's what you got to do. You got to know where the quarter note is with this kind of out phrasing. So you got to be able to go like chaka-doo-goo, 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 chaka-doo-goo. And so that's why I like to, that sounds like the pulse. It's not. That is the rhizophone. And that's the basis for like metric modulation, really. It's like just, putting a groove on a different subdivision. And keeping track of the real quarter note, right? But we were talking about like independence. That's how we got here. Someone was asking about independence, and that's one of the benefits to learning that stuff is and it helps me to like, again, like I keep saying, like write stuff out. Like if you write out, and you don't have to score this whole thing. Like you don't have to write out a lot. Just write out a bar of 8th note triplets, bring down 2 notes, and bring down the other 2 notes and the other 2 notes, and just see it like, oh, I see the first note of the group of 2 is right before the downbeat of 3. Oh, okay. And so when you're tapping your foot and you get to 3, you can make that connection. This happens right before this because this is the quarter note, etc. So you see it, you hear it, boom, you got it. That's how it works. And once you get it, man, you can do whatever you want with it, you guys. You can do whatever you want with it, there was a guy who used to like play 8th note triplets. He would flam like every 4th one, getting into like 3/4 half note triplet stuff. But I mean, again, that's a good example of like, well, if you're not familiar with that kind of stuff, and you're going to get lost. I don't want to get lost. You may want to get lost. I don't want to get lost. That's just a simple example of what we're talking about. But that's one of the benefits of independence, And we're just talking about that, like independence, like, ooh, the quarter note, big deal. Like but like my ostinato is like the quarter note. Like that's my ostinato. It's not even like, Terry Bozzio, eat your heart out. An ostinato is a pattern that just repeats on a limb or several limbs while you solo with the rest of the limbs. That's what an ostinato is, right? Terry Bozzio is the king of that. My ostinato is like ding, ding, a ding, ding, a ding. I want to be able to play stuff underneath of that tries to swing and tries to feel good while the ding, ding, a ding, ding, a ding doesn't stop. And there's no shortcut for that stuff, you guys. You just got to practice it, But once you get it, you get it. And the good news is, it's like once you get it, like don't do the thing that a lot of guys do, which is what I call like checkbox, checklist practicing. Like, okay, I can play Ted Reed with my left hand while I have the swing pattern happening, so I don't need to work on that anymore. That's that's not the way to go. Like, you can always improve that stuff. But there's no shortcut. I forget who it was that asked about independence, but that's my thoughts on independence. That stuff is fun. It's so worth it. That's so worth it, that stuff. Let's see, once you got it, you keep on getting it. Yeah, I mean, it's true. And the thing is like, you're just going to improve your feel. That's another thing. It's like kind of a controversial topic that not a lot of people, people usually take the other side of this topic, but I'm gonna take a chance and take the road less traveled on this one. It's talking about like when you practice or when you play, like, oh, don't play the stuff that you can already do. People say that. Oh, no, you're just playing the stuff you can already play, so you're not getting better. Excuse me? I'm getting better at the stuff that I'm doing, and yes, you can get to a point where it's like, okay, well, like, you've kind of got this mastered, you don't need to work on it anymore, right? And that's true. And even then, it's like, well, Can I do it at all tempos? You know, can I do it really fast? Can I do it like really slow? Like playing your stuff slow is difficult. It's difficult, you know? So there's always room to improve existing stuff, you know? Robert Thompson with the $2 donation. Thank you so much. Oh man, Sean. Sorry, I got to figure out your name. I'm gonna check out your channel after this, Sean. I appreciate what you're saying. It's true. Like, you know, you're gonna get better at the stuff that you're already playing, and I mean, there's value to that. And I noticed that, like, literally every amazing drummer, I guarantee they've spent a lot of time playing their stuff over and over. If everyone just tried to be original and then reinvent themselves every time they got off the sat down on the drums, then you know, I don't know what to say about that, because that doesn't sound human, you know, really. And I have fun playing drums. I have fun playing the stuff that I play. And of course I try to, like, you know, reinvent myself or do something different, you know, like we talked about with the cowbell, and it's possible to establish a thing, continue to work on a thing, but then add more things to it. It's called, like, building a vocabulary, you know. Actually, that reminds me. I don't know, I can maybe take a chance. Completely different topic. But I was thinking of that Miles tune that's also on Nefertiti recently, you know, and in my head, I heard like this Tony Williams thing that, I don't know if he does it exactly, but it's like this, you know, and I was like, oh, what is that? And I've heard guys do that, and I've tried to do the, you know, gresta, and it's not the bluzda, because there's no like double. It's like flam, cymbal, hit. Like that's it. Bluzda, you know, gresta. And let me see if I can kind of get that, you know, to where I hear it in my head. That's a process that I'm always interested in, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I got that, I can do it. And then I tried it, I'm like, well, that's nothing like what I have in my head. And so you got to try to marry the two, like how you hear it, how you play it, you got to marry those two. And so it's like this glesta, like that's what we're trying. Pinocchio, I think that's it. Glashta. Yes, you know, from the makers of the bluzda comes the glashta. Yeah, that's so funny. You know, that's the phrase. You know, glashta. And I tried to come up with the pillars first. You know, and find where I want to put it. That's the other thing, because this is one of those things that I think sounds better if it does not start on one. Desta. I don't think that, I mean, I think it's better if you start it, you know, I forget where I started it, like 3, 4, 1, desta. I think I started it on the E. 3, 4, 1, desta. So I just played the accents first, just to tell myself, like, okay, this is what I'm trying to do. 3, 4, 1. So again, we talked about, like, you know, knowing, you know, understanding the subdivisions. And so I wouldn't be able to piece that together if I didn't understand the concepts of 16th notes and how I want my accent to start a 16th after the downbeat. You know, that's important. That's a great example of that. 3, 4, 1. 4, right? That's what I'm doing, you know? You know, I think that sounds pretty cool. This is a great example of a fill or a lick, phrase, whatever, that requires like serious physical motion. You know, and you want to get your limbs kind of going in like a cyclical thing, because that's how this sounds. You know, and you know what? I remember trying this lick with the left hand. Oh man, talk about difficult. Let's try it with the left hand. I'm going to make a fool out of myself. See, you add the quarter notes on the bass drum out there, and oof, that's the talk about independence, you know. And doing it with the left hand is like hard enough, but adding the bass drum is like I got to work on that. But I think the phrase is happening. Like my intention is like it's occurring, you know. You know, it's kind of fun. Like I want to keep doing it, but like the closest, you know, ride cymbal for my right hand is like here. But I wonder, like maybe it would be easier to try like on this guy. I can already tell this thing's going to get in the way. But this is doing it like playing it with the right hand, you know, but and trying it on this cymbal. This motion, this is totally different than this, and so this is going to be horrible. Like I'm going to try it. It's going to be horrible. Yeah, see, you're watching me like choke on it. I'm trying to do the, you know, glass step, glasta, glasta, ba, glasta, glasta, ba. Like I can do it without actually playing it, but I can't do it like on the drums. Glasta, glasta, ba, glasta, glasta, ba. Okay, there it is. That was interesting. I had to stop playing drums in order to get it. All right, there we go. Sorry, turning on this mic is a thing sometimes. So I tried to do like a little mini one, right? Like glasta glasta ba, gotcha glasta glasta ba, right? So we had that happening. But then like the big temptation is to put that flam like on floor tom and snare. Like what do you guys think? Which one sounds better? You know, like versus like here. We'll play them both ways. Let me know which one you think sounds better. Oh, dude, Joe Travers. Fucking A. Someone said gush. Yes, we love the gush. Gush is like floor tom and cymbal together. Right? This is the gush. Yes, Paul Lawson, I did a gush for you. You guys, Joe Travers is in the house. I don't know if he's still here. Joe Travers, one of my favorite drummers ever, period, the end. Joe Travers out on the road with the Zappa band. Joe, you guys have been playing at the Big Potato, like at all these places, and I'm just killing myself for not going, because that seems like such a killing band, the current Zappa band. Yeah, Paul Lawson, I shouted you out. You asked for the gush, you got the gush. There you go. Or did someone else ask? Anyway, gosh. Anyway, what do you think? Like the flam, is that like floor tom and snare, or just like snare drum by itself? We're talking about the geshta geshta versus the bdeshta bdeshta. Like that's how you say it. You have to say it different, right? Like gleshta gleshta versus like bdeshta bdeshta. It's different. It sounds different, man. It sounds different. Oh, Joe, stop it. Honestly, like, there's a live record of a Zappa band called Return of the Son of a Bitch, but like bitch is like asterisked out or whatever. It's Zappa Plays Zappa is the band. It's kind of an older recording, but Joe, man, it's like one of the best live records ever. The DVD is amazing. You're amazing. Your work with Mike Keneally. And at first, I got to tell you, Joe Travers, back in the day, like me and my friends were all like arms folded because we were such Toss fans, Toss Panos. And we'd go see Toss, and then like you'd come up and play occasionally, and then you started doing more and more Keneally gigs, and we were like, what? Who is this guy? And it took a while. It was actually interesting because kind of the more mature I got as a drummer, and the more I had appreciation for like good timing, good feeling groove, that's when I started to like embrace the Travers, because that's part of your thing. It's just, oh. So yes, Toss Panos. If you guys aren't familiar with Toss, check him out. Check out Toss. There's an old, actually there's a recording that Toss is on that had a huge effect on my playing back in the day, like 93, 94. There's a CD, and Joe Travers, you may not have this actually, or you probably do. Anyway, the Fire Merchants. Fire Merchants was this instrumental rock and roll trio with Toss Panos, John Goodsall, rest in peace, and Doug Lunn on bass, rest in peace. And the name of the CD, it was called something, like Lords of Atlantis or something like that. And whoo, there's a couple tunes on there that really, actually that record in particular made me practice like the ghost note after the backbeat. Whoops. Made me practice the ghost note after the backbeat. Because there's a track number 3. It was like this slow thing. It was like ba shpanana gosh got to do got it shpanana gaga gaga. Like, dude, it's all about the gaga, right? The backbeat and the ghost note after the backbeat. Oh, you should get it, Joe. Get it. There's actually a tune in 15 on there. It's like 4/4 and 7/8. And some really catchy riffs on there too, actually. Some really cool tunes. But the ghost note after the backbeat is important, and that was the recording that really motivated me to get that happening. So I can like kind of do that and like slow it down. It's funny because at that slow tempo, like I want to actually play all the notes, not just the one after. I want to go like ga 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 ga, and I have to like stop myself. But yeah, the boot ga ga. Michael Landau Live 2000 at the Baked Potato. Oh man, with Toss. There's a tune on there. I'll tell you what, you guys. There's a tune on there, and it's funny because if you buy it on Amazon, it won't be the right track. This is an old Noble and Cooley snare, Joe. Thank you very much. Anyway, there's a tune called "Why You Lie," and it's this slow, sloshy thing in 7. And it's funny, you know, like Toss had his own, going all full Toss Panos now, actually. Toss had his own kind of version of, you know, like these old rides that like these old jazz guys have, and they break over years, and like we'll never have it again because it's gone. Toss had like his own version of like the hats, these hi-hats, these old broken hats. They were like literally cracked, and parts of it were literally falling off, but they sounded really cool. It was like almost like a China sound, but like staccato from the hi-hat closing, like it was like, and there's a tune called Why You Lie. It's a slow thing in 7, and I bought it on Amazon one time. And when you buy the song on Amazon, it says that it's Why You Lie. It's actually not. It's a different track. So they have them numbered incorrectly on the Amazon digital thing, which really sucks. But it's worth buying. Just buy the whole record and wait till you hear there's like this slow guitar. It's like go 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 ga 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 gosh just you ga 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 6 7 1 I'll make a fool out of myself. We'll try to play slow in 7. Yeah. Yeah, the bottom hi-hat was hanging. Oh, man. Yeah, too busy on that stuff. When I play that stuff, like my thing, like the kind of clean thing, it doesn't sound as good on that slow stuff. And Toss, he has like this elven slop thing that really works. And my stuff isn't tuned for the sloppy thing. Like you need low kind of tuned stuff for the sloppy thing, but I have mine kind of tuned high to accommodate like the clean thing. Is it a special dry ride? Yes, this ride is a 20-inch custom dry light. Custom dry light ride. Love this ride. You can do all kinds of things with this, man. Like tip, shoulder, bell. Love this ride. Yeah. Like it's funny, the guys go through different phases of different licks that they like, and they use more. Like for whatever, a few months you play like one lick in particular a little more than normal, right? Like different fads, I guess. And one thing I really like doing these days is like right, like flam right left with a kick in front of it. But like at tempo, it's like dig it das, dig it das, dig it das, dig it das, blah bean, blah bean. You know, gonna put it on upbeats there. I have a few of those 20 special dry rides. Those things are absolutely killer, says Pablo Swanson. The original one's not the redo. Yeah, I'm not even familiar with the redos, man. I get something and I just keep it. Hey, Steve, have you met Vinny? I hear a lot of him in your playing style. That's a big compliment. Thank you. I have met Vinny a couple times, but just very casually. Like, we don't know each other or anything. Although I would really love to interview the guy. And I had someone that works with him like reach out to him about that, and the conditions were like it was X amount of money, which I guess is reasonable, and there was no, like, it was live only, no recording. And that's not cool. Like, I want to record it and talk to the guy and share it with everybody. Let's see, Joe Travers has drop in from inspiration. Take care, Steve, and everyone. Peace. You sound amazing as always. Dude, Joe Travers, thank you for stopping by. We're not worthy. A puppet a bean, a puppet a bean, a puppet a bean. Yes. Dude, Pablo Swanson spelling out the phrases. Gosh. A puppet a bean, gosh. Let's see, Piece of Groove. Hi, Steve. Have you tried messing around with different click placements? I haven't. We need to do that soon. I'm going to the toms. Put the right hand on the floor toms. Robert Thompson says, how conscious are you of what your left foot is doing once you get cooking? I'm not at all conscious, other than the fact that I want it to do what it's doing. but it's just kind of automatic pilot. Like I've worked on it enough to like, and I wanted to like slash that quarter note. I want it to always be there doing the quarter note. So I've worked on it. So now I can just kind of flip the switch and have it happen. So it's important that it happens, but I'm not thinking about it too much is the answer. All right, we're going to wrap it up here pretty soon. Folks that are interested in supporting the channel, you can hit that little smiley, the super it's called. You can click that or click the little $sign and just support the channel through that during the stream. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, there should be a little thanks button under the video. You can still support the channel, make a donation by clicking that. We're trying to save up for a new laptop and a new recording unit and a camera switcher, and I want to get more cameras in here, you guys. Get maybe a foot cam, or I want to get like a nice wide shot to the right, so it's just not the same angle over and over, you know. Frank is asking about metric modulation. Next time we'll talk about that, Frank. Although, Frank, if you're not hip to my channel, a lot of these questions, like I have videos for this stuff already, and so I'm sorry if I keep repeating myself, like, hey, check out my channel, but it's true. Like, if you're interested in this information, you should check out my channel. There's a playlist called Steve Holmes Lessons, and there is a video on there that completely explains the 3/4 metric modulation, complete with like on-screen triplet graphics and stuff. Like it's nuts. Like I did a whole thing. So check that out, Frank, if you haven't, and maybe on the next stream, if you have questions, you can reach out. Yeah, or you know, I'm available for lessons over you know, Zoom and all that too. If you're happy with this sound, this is what you get when you take lessons. Frank's like, oh, I'm after the 22. Oh, he wants the new version. Oh man. All right, I'll try to find another another modulation to work on. But yeah, steveholmes@gmail.com is my email address, believe it or not. steveholmes@gmail.com. Reach out if you want lessons. I'm pretty busy these days with my day gig working on Call of Duty. For those that don't know, I'm a video game designer. I work at Infinity Ward, and we're making Modern Warfare 2. So I'm spending a lot of time working on that. But the drumming thing is still happening. It's still like my therapy and my release, and I love sharing the drumming thing with drummers. So that's why we're doing this here. So that's it for today. I really appreciate you guys hanging out. And my name's Steve Holmes. And check out the channel if you haven't. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for hanging out. Yeah. Good stream, you guys. Good stream.